Released in North America for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on the 25th of October 2016, with a PC release on the 27th of October, European release on the 28th of October, and a Japanese release on the 2nd of November, we have Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. What you're seeing here is the PlayStation 4 release. Handled by Dimps once more, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is the sequel to Dragon Ball Xenoverse, which was released back in February 2015, and you can catch that review right here. In this continuation, the Future Warrior or Time Patroller from the first game can be imported, where he or she plays the role of the hero or heroine of Toki Toki City, as well as Xeno Trunks' partner, not to be confused with the Future Trunks from Dragon Ball Super. Toki Toki City has now been made significantly larger and has since been renamed to Conton City. You now play as a new Time Patroller who's been tasked with correcting the Dragon Ball timeline from familiar faces as well as some new evils, while using even more elements from the MMORPG Dragon Ball Online. But, is the game any good? Find out in The Good. Much of the things I liked about the original Xenoverse makes a return. Making the new Time Patroller and learning techniques and moves from the show as well as the TV special and movies was an absolute treat. Instructors in the game work very much like the first game. They teach your Time Patroller moves and can occasionally enter battles to help you out. The central hub, or Conton City, is a definite improvement over Toki Toki City, which was one of the things I didn't like in the first game. Conton City allows the player to get around quicker in several different ways. You can ride a vehicle, talk to the transfer shop robots to get to certain places, and later in the game you're able to fly to places. This can make getting from place to place much less tedious. The customization options from the previous game makes a welcome return, and in an interesting move, the other races were allowed a transformation which changes their physical appearance, which was only limited to Saiyans in the first game. The Saiyans themselves gain 2 additional transformation forms with different benefits, which does add a strategic element to how you build them. These transformations are obtained from time rifts, which are areas in the game which reflect locations from the show, with an appropriate character to enable the transformation. Much like the previous game, your Time Patroller also has available to them different outfits, which you can purchase or collect throughout the game. Each piece of clothing also provides status increases or decreases, and selecting which combination of clothing to wear also adds to that strategic element, as well as providing your character with a unique look. However, choosing the colour of your clothes is limited to certain pieces as well. I also quite enjoyed the multiplayer aspect of the game. Throughout my playthrough, I didn't find latency to be a big issue and the service to be quite stable. As well as fighting against other players, you can also cooperate with them in parallel quests to gain items and techniques. A new addition to Xenoverse 2 is the inclusion of expert missions. Expert missions pit the player and up to 5 others against a powered up enemy. If you don't have 5 other players, they are replaced by CPU controlled Time Patrollers. The powered up enemy has several skills at their disposal which they can use against you, such as mind control, sending you into a different dimension, and firing a large energy blast that you and the other players must stop. Expert missions I think is a refreshing addition to the multiplayer aspect of Xenoverse 2, and acts as sort of a raid boss mode in a sense, and I had a lot of fun with multiplayer. However, the game wasn't entirely good, and we're going to cover the not so fun bits with the bad. The story of the game, which was something I enjoyed in the first game, seems more lackluster. For a large portion of the main story in the second game, you're pretty much replaying parts of the first game. However, while the first game goes a little bit more into detail of the discrepancies, you have a shortened version of it in the second game, and while it's good for people just getting into the Xenoverse games, for those who are replaying it, it almost feels like a refresher or a "hey, remember when you did this" moment. This is more of a minor complaint, as the extra villains in the later parts of the game I found much more enjoyable. Hey, remember that time you had to replay parallel quests over and over again in order to get certain skills while dying inside? Well, guess what? They're back! Just as a refresher, parallel quests are missions in which you battle heroes or villains depending on when in the timeline it's placed. Thankfully, a lot of the things needed to trigger certain events can be easily guessed, and certain parallel quests I wasn't too keen on in the original game have been revised, such as the one to get Goku to transform into a Super Saiyan and Gohan to transform into a Super Saiyan 2. However, receiving the skill or piece of clothing from completing the parallel quest is still up to chance, and I'm not particularly keen on playing a parallel quest over and over and over again just to get a chance to get what I want, as I'm already aware of how frustrating it was in the first game. Thankfully, if you import your character from Xenoverse 1, in my case the Saiyan transformation skills were also carried across, which was a major relief. While I didn't mind the game's time rifts, the one that annoyed me the most was Guru's house on Namek. Throughout the game, Guru's house will be under attack from Frieza and his minions, and it's up to you and Nao to collect the Dragon Balls and keep them out of harm's way. The problem is though is that those quests never end, so once you get the reward from completing the time rift, Guru's house will continually keep getting attacked, and you get a little reminder in the top right corner very frequently after completing missions, just so you would remember that Guru's house was under attack. And that got annoying to a point where I just started ignoring them, since the only real benefit once completing the time rift was the experience gain, and once I hit level 80, I really couldn't care less. So with that out of the way, I guess it's time for the opinion. While a lot of people say Xenoverse 2 is what Xenoverse should have been, from a gameplay perspective I somewhat agree. I think that as it is, Xenoverse 2 is more of an expansion pack to Xenoverse as opposed to a standalone game, but it's still very fun nonetheless. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball like I am, it's well worth picking up. The visuals and soundtrack have been mostly reused from Xenoverse, and I still think they look great. So with that, it's time.
But now it's time for the rating. I give Dragon Ball and Xenoverse 2 a Super Buu Gohan absorbed out of 10. He may not be in the game, but hey, he's stronger than Ultimate Gohan, right? And it sure beats the sorry state Gohan's in Dragon Ball Super.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review.